Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you're well. Today I want to talk about Prophet Yusuf. The story of Yusuf is beautiful, but I want to start from the end rather than from the beginning. There is the verse of the Quran which I really like, which is Surah number 12, Surah Yusuf, verse number 101, where Yusuf says, ربي قد آتيتني من الملك وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت وليي في الدنيا والآخرة توفني مسلما والحقني بالصالحين. O my sustainer, you have indeed bestowed upon me something of power and have imparted unto me some knowledge of inner meanings of happenings. Originator of the heavens and the earth, you are near unto me in this world and in the life to come. Let me die as one who surrendered himself unto you, and make me one of the righteous. Now this is Yusuf's story. Prophet Yusuf began by saying to his dad, "Oh my dad, I see in my dream," and that dream led him to a huge trial and tribulation, or set of trials and tribulations through his life. So for example, his brothers conspired to kill him. They threw him in the depth of the water well. When he was thrown in the depth of the water well, he was only a little boy, maybe 5-6 years old, very small. Thrown in the depth of the water well, by all on his own, by himself. Can you imagine if the water well was deep or shallow? We don't know. Whether there was water or no water underneath the water well, we don't know. Whether it had animals, any other objects, or even rocks. When Yusuf fell, what was his state? We have no idea. He was in that water well, all on his own. It must have been pitch dark when his brothers dropped him there and they left him. Only to be picked up by a passing caravan, who then sold him as a slave to the Egyptian minister, the chief minister Al-Aziz, as we know from the story. He then brings him to his house and makes him a slave, a servant. His wife becomes his master. He grows up in that house, losing his freedom, but observing and learning the government's working, because he was living in the minister's house, chief minister's house. Then his wife tries to seduce him. He escapes that by running to the door, accused of all sorts, thrown in the depth of the prison. He stays in the prison. In the prison, he becomes known as a man who's wise, a man with good character, impeccable character. Other prisoners respect him. So when the two prisoners saw their dreams, two dreams, they came to him for interpretation. When they came to him for interpretation, he gave them the invitation, which was his key message: being good, being loyal to Allah, being subservient to Allah alone. His essential message of Islam, or essential message of the teachings of his father that he had learned. Yaqub had taught him. Yaqub was the prophet. Yusuf now interpreted the dream of those two people, told one of them to remind him when he's free, tell the king whom he would be serving about Yusuf and what's happening to him in the prison. The guy forgets until the king sees the dream. Then king tells the dream and asks for interpretation. Nobody can give satisfactory interpretation. This person who was in the prison, whose dream was interpreted by Yusuf, remembers Yusuf, goes to the king and says, "I know somebody who can interpret your dream." Then king sends this particular individual to Yusuf. Yusuf says to the individual the interpretation of the dream. Upon hearing this, king is fascinated, invites Yusuf to his palace. Yusuf said, "I'm not willing to come out of the prison until I've been exonerated." King then brings all those ladies who had made the accusation against Yusuf, and Al-Aziz, the chief minister's wife, confesses, saying, "Yusuf is innocent. I am the one who is guilty. I tried to seduce him, but Yusuf is innocent." Yusuf is then freed from the prison, recognized for his wisdom, for his knowledge, for his sagacity. He is freed from the prison, exonerated from all blemishes, all accusations of those ladies who had made the accusations in the first place. He is declared innocent of all crime. He then says to the king, "Yes, this is the interpretation of the dream. If you make me the key minister, the minister of finance of your state, of your country, Egypt, I will look after your wealth. I will make sure that you and your country is managed through the years of huge harvest, bumper harvest, as well as through the 7 years of famine, as Yusuf interpreted the dream of the king. Lo and behold, he becomes the Minister of Finance. He manages all the affairs. His dream becomes true, and eventually the entire region gets into a huge food shortage, famine. Yusuf's father, who was living in Palestine with his brothers, they also experience food shortage. They come over seeking assistance from the Egyptian government, and they face Yusuf. Instead of berating them, instead of causing them trouble, instead of casting them into prison, punishing them for what they had done to him, instead of taking revenge, Yusuf plans to reunite the family by creating a drama. He keeps his youngest brother Benjamin with him, eventually gets his father to come over. And when they come together, they reunite. Yusuf says to his father, "Oh, my father, this reuniting of you and me and the entire drama that has played out in our life, my being thrown in the depth of the water well, me being enslaved, me being accused of ill crime, immorality, me being thrown in the prison, and I spending so many years in prison, then exonerated, appointed as the chief minister of Egypt, and me uniting with you is actually the true interpretation of the dream." And then he makes this dua. He says, "Oh Allah, وَمَا سَسْتَيْنَا رَبِّي قَدْ آتَيْتَنِي مِنَ الْمُلْكِ." Oh Allah, you have given me power. وَعَلَّمْتَنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ, and you have given me knowledge of the inner being and inner things that others don't have knowledge of. Ta'wil, the metaphorical, the secret, the unknown knowledge of things that people don't normally have. You've given me that power. You've given me that knowledge. فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, the sustainer of the heavens and the earth. Oh Allah, you are the sustainer of the heavens of the heaven and the earth. أنت ولي, you are my guardian. في الدنيا والآخرة, for this world and the hereafter. توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. Oh Allah, enable me to die in the state of total surrender. In other words, let me die as a Muslim and make me amongst those who are righteous. Despite all the difficulties, Yusuf does not lose hope. Despite all the difficulties, Yusuf does not lose his belief in Allah. Despite all the difficulties, he has absolute tawakkul on Allah. Despite all the difficulties and the challenges, he was still able to forgive his brothers. Not only does he forgive his brothers, he says to his father, "Oh my father, please pray for me. Pray for my brothers. Pray to Allah that Allah will forgive us for our sins." What I learned from the story of Yusuf, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of patience, is the story of forgiveness, is the story of wisdom, is the story of how Allah can bring you from the depth of darkness to the light, and how Allah can elevate you from the bottom of the water well to becoming the chief minister. How the world can rupture your families, but if you remain steadfast and patient, if you have tawakkul, patient reliance on Allah, if you have that faith in Allah, how Allah can reunite you in a better space. Imagine this, ladies and gentlemen. If Yusuf's brother did not throw him in the water well, would Yusuf become the chief minister of Egypt? If his brothers did not throw him in the water well, would Yusuf be managing the food affair and managing and averting a catastrophe from befalling that region? If his brother did not throw him in the water well, would he have been recognized as a wise man by the people of Egypt? Would he have been given that promotion? Would he have been recognized and honored and exonerated? Would Yusuf's character have been proven impeccable had he not been thrown in the water well? Well, everything happens for a plan. All you have to do is have faith in Allah, like Yusuf did. All you have to do is stay resolute to your principles and your preservation of your character. All you have to do is believe in something better to come, and you shall experience something better to come, like Yusuf did. May Allah keep you and I protected, preserved, enable us to become more patient and enjoy the blessings and the goodness that comes with patience, endurance and tawakkul. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.